You ever stop and think about the stuff you used every single day in the 90s? Things that felt completely normal back then, but now make absolutely no sense. Like not just outdated, but actually confusing. Like why did we do that? How did that even work? And the weird part is, nobody questioned it. You just accepted it, adapted to it, built your whole routine around it. And somehow it all worked. Slower, messier, way less efficient. But it felt real, because you had to interact with everything. You had to wait, fix things, figure things out. And now, when everything is instant, automated, and invisible, those old habits feel almost unreal, like they belong to a different world entirely. But once you remember them, it all comes back. Segment 1. You flip through channels, stopping on that weird static screen, black and white noise dancing across the TV, that loud hissing sound filling the room. And for some reason, you didn't change it right away. You'd stare at it for a second, like something might actually appear, like there was a signal hiding inside all that chaos. Sometimes you'd adjust the dial slowly, watching the image almost form, then disappear again. And it felt like you were close to unlocking something, even though nothing was really there. And looking back, it makes no sense. Why sit there watching static? Why not just switch channels instantly? But back then, it wasn't about efficiency. It was about possibility. The idea that something might be just out of reach. And somehow, that made even nothing feel interesting. Segment 2. The phone would ring, and you had to go to it. No pockets, no mobility, just that fixed spot in the house. A long coiled cord stretching as far as it could, wrapping around your arm, your fingers, anything to pull a little more distance. Trying to find some privacy, turning your back to the room, lowering your voice, because anyone could walk by, anyone could listen, and sometimes they did, picking up another handset somewhere else, that faint click exposing everything, and you'd freeze for a second, suddenly aware of every word, every pause, conversations becoming shorter, more careful, and somehow, that was normal, sharing space like that, adjusting to it. But now, the idea of being tied to one place just to talk feels almost impossible. Segment 3. You'd sit there with your finger hovering over the record button, radio playing in the background, waiting for that one song to come on, not just any song, the one you actually wanted, and when it finally did, everything became tense. You had to hit record at the perfect moment, not too early, not too late, hoping the DJ wouldn't start talking over the intro. Sometimes they did, ruining the whole thing. And you had to wait all over again. Minutes turning into hours, just to capture a few minutes of music. And even then, it wasn't perfect. A little static, a voice fading in at the end. But somehow, that made it feel yours, like you earned it. And now, with every song available instantly, that strange ritual of chasing music feels almost unreal. Segment 4. The game wouldn't load. Just a blinking screen, maybe a frozen logo. And without thinking, you'd pull the cartridge out, look at it for a second, then do the one thing everyone believed worked. Blow into it. Quick, confident, like it was part of the system. You'd slide it back in, press it down, hit power, and wait. Sometimes it worked. Sometimes it didn't. But when it did, it felt like you fixed it. Like you understood something no one explained. Even though now, it makes zero sense. Blowing air into electronics should make things worse, not better. But back then, nobody questioned it. It was just what you did, passed down like a rule. And somehow, that weird little habit felt more reliable than anything else. Segment 5. The picture would suddenly go fuzzy, colors fading, lines shaking across the screen, and without hesitation, someone would yell to adjust the antenna. You'd walk over, grab those thin metal rods, twisting them slowly, trying different angles, holding it in place while someone across the room shouted instructions. A little left, no, back, right there, don't move, and you'd freeze, arm getting tired, because somehow your body became part of the signal. The moment you let go, it would go bad again, and looking back, it makes no sense. Why should a human have to stand there just to watch TV? But that was normal. You became the adjustment, the solution, and once it finally cleared up, that perfect picture felt earned in a way that's hard to explain now. Segment 6. You'd dial the number carefully, pressing each button with intention, holding the phone tight, waiting for it to ring, and then it hit you, that repetitive tone, sharp, endless, the busy signal, no explanation, no message, just a wall telling you to try again later. You'd hang up, wait a few seconds, dial again, hoping this time would be different. Sometimes doing it over and over, because there was no other option, no way to know how long you'd be waiting, no cue, no callback, just guesswork, and somehow, that felt normal, chasing a connection you couldn't see. But now, the idea of calling someone and getting nothing but a tone, feels almost unreal. Like communication used to have walls you just had to accept. Segment 7. The tape would get loose, that soft rattling sound inside the cassette, music warping slightly, and without thinking, you'd grab a pencil, not for writing, but for fixing it, sliding it into that tiny hole, turning it slowly, feeling the tension tighten with each twist, watching the tape pull back into place, like you were repairing something delicate, something mechanical. And somehow, it worked. Perfectly normal. No instructions, no manual, just something everyone seemed to know. And looking back, it makes no sense. Why should a pencil fix music? Why was that even a solution? But back then, it wasn't strange. It was practical. A small skill you just picked up. And now, that entire problem doesn't even exist anymore. Segment 8. There was only one computer, sitting in a shared space. Maybe the living room, maybe a corner desk. And it didn't belong to you, it belonged to everyone. You'd wait your turn, watching someone else use it, counting the minutes silently, because you knew your time would be limited. When you finally got on, you moved fast, opening what you needed, trying not to waste a second, because someone could walk in and ask for it back. And if the internet was on, no one else could use the phone. So there was pressure, real pressure, to finish quickly. And looking back, it makes no sense. Sharing something so central, so limited. But back then, that was normal. Access wasn't guaranteed, it was negotiated. And somehow, that made every minute feel more valuable. Segment 9. You wouldn't just leave the house and figure it out. You had to prepare, sitting at the computer, typing in an address, waiting for the page to load, then printing out step-by-step directions, page after page, each turn written out like instructions you couldn't afford to miss. You fold the paper, keep it on your lap or the passenger seat, reading it while driving, trying to match real streets to printed words, hoping you didn't skip a line. Because if you did, there was no recalculating, no voice telling you to turn around. You were just lost. And somehow, that was normal, navigating through guesswork and paper. But now, the idea of driving anywhere without GPS feels almost impossible. Segment 10. You'd use something once, maybe twice, and then it was done, tossed without a second thought. Disposable cameras, disposable razors, even things that felt like they shouldn't be temporary. Everything had this built-in ending. You didn't recharge it, you didn't refill it, you just replaced it. And somehow, that made sense back then. It was convenient, simple, no maintenance, no commitment. But looking back, it feels strange. Why create something just to throw it away? Why build an entire system around short-term use? And yet, it was everywhere, part of daily life, accepted without question. And now, even though some of it still exists, that mindset feels outdated, like we've started to realize what we were actually doing. Segment 11. You didn't search for channels. You remembered them. Certain numbers just lived in your head. 3 for one station, 7 for another, maybe 12 for cartoons. Your fingers moving without thinking, pressing buttons in a sequence you memorized over time. And if you went to someone else's house, everything felt off. Different numbers, different layout. Like the TV itself was unfamiliar. You had to relearn it, slowly, and somehow, that was normal. Building a mental map just to watch something. But now, with menus and recommendations, nothing sticks the same way. You don't remember where things are, because you don't have to. And that small habit of knowing exactly where to go just quietly disappeared. Segment 12. You'd return the tape, thinking you made it just in time, sliding it across the counter, trying to act normal. But there was always that moment, the pause, the employee checking the date, and then saying it, late fee, Small at first, but it added up fast. Suddenly that cheap rental wasn't cheap anymore. And you couldn't argue it. There was a system, strict, unforgiving. Time actually mattered. And somehow, that pressure changed how you watched movies. You paid attention to the clock, made sure to finish on time, even rushed things just to return it. And looking back, it makes no sense. Being charged extra just for time passing, but back then, that was normal. Time had a cost, and you felt it every time you were late. Segment 13. You'd come home and see that little blinking light, steady, patient, waiting for you. The answering machine had something to say. You'd press play, hearing that mechanical click, then the voice, sometimes familiar, sometimes not. Messages recorded in real time. No editing, no deleting before sending. Just whatever came out. Pauses, awkward starts, background noise, all of it captured. And sometimes you'd stand there listening, not just to the message, but to how it was said, trying to read between the words. And looking back, it feels strange, storing voices like that, replaying them whenever you wanted. But back then, it was normal. Communication didn't disappear. It stayed, waiting for you to hear it later. Segment 14. You'd walk up to that heavy shelf, rows of thick books lined up in order, pulling one out with both hands, flipping through pages slowly, searching for something specific, maybe a fact, maybe a definition. And it took time, real time, scanning lines, cross-referencing entries, sometimes ending up in the wrong place entirely. But you kept going, because there was no shortcut, no instant answer, just pages, and patience, and somehow, that was normal. Learning meant effort, meant physically looking for information. But now, typing a few words gives you everything instantly. And the idea of spending minutes, even hours, just to find one answer, feels almost impossible to imagine. Segment 15. You'd press play, expecting your favorite song. But instead, it jumped. A quick skip, the stutter in the sound. The CD caught on something invisible. Maybe a scratch, maybe dust. And suddenly, the music wasn't smooth anymore. It looped, repeated, broke the rhythm completely. You'd take it out, hold it up to the light, tilting it slowly, trying to find the flaw, wiping it on your shirt like that would fix it, then placing it back in, hoping this time it would play through. And sometimes it did, sometimes it didn't. But looking back, it makes no sense. Something so fragile controlling your music, one tiny mark ruining everything. And yet, that was normal. Perfection wasn't guaranteed, and you just learned to deal with it. Segment 16. It would buzz suddenly, clipped to your belt or tucked in a pocket. That small device demanding attention. A pager, not a message, just a number, no context, no explanation. You'd stop whatever you were doing, find a phone, any phone, dialing back immediately. Because that number meant something, maybe important, maybe urgent. And you had no way of knowing until you called. And somehow, that was normal. Communication without clarity, urgency without detail. You were always reacting, never fully informed. But now, with full conversations in your pocket, the idea of being summoned by just a number feels almost absurd. Segment 17. You'd finish the roll, hear that final click, knowing there were no shots left. But you still had no idea what you captured. The camera went away, and the waiting began. Days, sometimes longer, before you could see anything. You'd drop it off, walk away, and just trust it would come back. And when it did, you'd flip through the photos one by one. Some too dark, some cut off, some perfect by accident, moments frozen without warning. And looking back, it makes no sense. Capturing memories without instant feedback, without control. But that delay, that uncertainty, made each photo feel more real, like you were discovering your own past for the first time. Segment 18. You'd be out somewhere, no phone in your pocket, no way to call anyone, and suddenly you needed one. You'd start looking around, scanning for that familiar box, the payphone, standing there on the sidewalk, slightly worn, sometimes scratched. You'd check your pockets for coins, hoping you had enough, feeding them in one by one, hearing that metallic clink, dialing carefully, because every second cost something. And if the call dropped, it was gone, no refund, no retry without more coins, and somehow, that was normal. communication tied to location, to money, to chance. But now, the idea of needing a specific place just to make a call feels almost impossible to imagine. Segment 19. You'd be watching something important, fully locked in. And then it happened. The sudden cut to commercials. Loud, fast, completely breaking the moment. And you had no control. You couldn't skip it, couldn't fast forward. You just had to sit there, waiting. Sometimes using that time to run somewhere quickly, grab something, hoping you'd make it back before the show resumed. Because if you didn't, you missed it. And somehow, that was normal. Your timing shaped by something else. Your routine built around interruptions. But now, with everything on demand, the idea of your experience being controlled like that feels almost unreal. Segment 20. You'd sit down at the computer, logging into something without hesitation, typing simple passwords, or sometimes none at all, sharing accounts, writing things down on paper, sticking them near the screen, because it didn't feel risky, nothing felt exposed. The internet was smaller, quieter, almost harmless. You didn't think about privacy, didn't worry about data. You just used it, freely, casually, and somehow, that was normal. Trusting a system you didn't fully understand. But now, everything is locked, protected, monitored, and the idea of being that open, that unaware, feels almost impossible, like we were all part of something we didn't realize needed protecting. It's strange how all of this once felt completely normal, not outdated, not confusing, just everyday life. Routines you followed without thinking. Problems you solved in ways that made sense at the time. But now, looking back, it almost feels unreal, like a different set of rules existed. Slower, less efficient, but somehow more hands-on, more real, because you had to be involved in everything. You had to wait, adapt, figure things out. And maybe that's what made it stick. Not the objects themselves, but the way you interacted with them. Because even though technology moved on, those habits, those moments, they didn't disappear. They just stopped being needed. And now, they only come back when you remember them. For just a second. Like they never really left.